Today is the deadline for Canadians to submit a declaration to participate in the federal government's assault-style firearms compensation program, the buyback program as it's known. It's open to all individual firearms owners in Canada who possess eligible firearms that were prohibited back in May of 2020, December of 2024, or March of 2025. The weapons have to have been acquired prior to their relevant prohibition date. The government advises that while participating in the buyback program is voluntary, compliance with the law is not. Individual owners are advised all assault-style firearms must be disposed of or permanently deactivated before the amnesty period ends October 30th, 2026. With me now to discuss is Conservative MP and Shadow Minister for Public Safety, Frank Caputo. Frank, good morning. Thank you so much for being with us.
Good morning, Marcia.
Some of the concerns about this program?
Well, in my view, Marcia, the government has really shown us a masterclass in how not to execute a program. Let's start from the beginning. This minister who's in charge, Minister Ananda Sangari, has said that this program won't work. He was actually recorded saying that this program is all about politics, that it's not going to work. We have multiple, I'd say a majority of police forces have said they don't want to participate in this. This is all against a backdrop in which gun crime is up 130%, and we are dealing with an unprecedented rise in crime. So these are huge issues that the government is not ready to confront and won't be confronted by this program. What
is the Conservatives' plan for the buyback program?
Well, I would actually put that back on the government because this is a government initiative. The government has put this forward. If we had to have a plan when it comes to public safety, we would take common sense measures. We would repeal parts of Bill C-75, Bill C-5 that allowed people who use firearms in the commission of an offense to serve their sentence on house arrest. Because of the Liberals, they took these mandatory minimums like drive-by shootings, things like that. They took them and allowed people to serve them on house arrest. So on the one hand, they say we want less guns on our street. We think we have less illegal guns on our street in the hands of criminals. Of course, we all want that. And on the other hand, they say, but you know what? When you do get caught using a gun in extortion, things like that, doing drive-by shootings, possessing a gun for nefarious purposes, we'll let you serve your sentence on house arrest. Those two things are completely inconsistent. So as Conservatives, we would repeal those laws. We would address the laws on bail that have become weaker and weaker. We actually just put forward our Jail Not Bail Act last week, which the Liberals voted against. These are common sense measures that I think Canadians want and that Conservatives would implement on day one.
So you wouldn't have a buyback program?
No, I don't. I think that we have to address the crime where it's happening. The crime is happening on the streets. Canadians have been telling us that this is a problem. We also have to look at the police forces, look at the fact that we have a majority of police forces who want nothing to do with this program because they don't believe it's going to work. We want to have things that are going to work. We want to take the guns out of the hands of people who would be using them for nefarious and criminal purposes and leave it at that.
So the yield hasn't been great. Liberals, I think, would even agree when they look at the numbers. So what measures in the meantime would you like to see over the next few months before that deadline?
Well, what I'd like to see is the Liberals to address the things I just spoke about, Marcia. Parts of Bill C-75 that talk about bail and saying that we are going to start with a presumption of bail being on the least restrictive terms, things like that. I'd love to see them repeal Bill C-75. It used to be that if you did a drive-by shooting, you had to go to jail for at least 4 to 5 years. That, to me, is eminently reasonable, and I think that that's quite reasonable in the eyes of Canadians. I'd love to see the Liberals tighten up our porous border. I have visited rail crossings as the critic for public safety, and seeing that there's literally no enforcement at the point where trains are coming across our border. The government knows, the Liberals know that our border is absolutely porous. I'd like to see the Liberals address the fact that gun crime is up 130% since they took office. Extortion is up 330% since they took office. Where are the measures for dealing with those issues, because right now Canadians are saying, look, we are tired of gun crime. If we want to address gun crime, which if we're going to take the government at its word that they're going to do, then let's do something that actually works. The minister himself said this wouldn't work, so why don't we listen to the minister himself?
Frank Caputo, thank you so much, Frank. Glad you could join us this morning. We need